Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly difficult, but also profoundly important. What was it actually like for the human beings who were sent to the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp? We're going to walk through this history step by step. To really get a handle on this, I want you to try and hold a question in your mind as we go through this. If this was you, what would you have gone through? That personal perspective is, I think, crucial for really understanding the reality of what happened. So, let's begin. You know, the thing about a place like Auschwitz is that it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It wasn't an accident. It was the final, terrible destination on a long road of escalating hate and dehumanization that started years and years earlier. So let's rewind a bit. After Germany lost World War I, the country was just broken. We're talking massive war debts and unbelievable hyperinflation. In that kind of climate of national shame and total economic desperation, really dangerous ideas can take root. One of the most poisonous was this conspiracy theory, the stab-in-the-back myth. The claim was that Germany wasn't really defeated on the battlefield, but was betrayed from within. And that lie was aimed like a weapon, primarily at Jewish citizens. The whole process was just chillingly systematic. Once the Nazis rode that wave of anger into power in 1933, the persecution started right away, but it was gradual. First, they take away your job. Then, a few years later, as you see here, they literally strip you of your citizenship. Then came state-approved violence, and finally, the policy of extermination. It was the slow, deliberate dismantling of a people's humanity, piece by piece. And what started as a policy on paper soon became a personal nightmare for millions. Once the final solution was put into motion, the actual process of rounding people up and shipping them out began on a terrifying industrial scale. Just try to imagine it for a second. One day, the order police find you. Maybe you were in hiding. Maybe you were just trying to survive in a ghetto. But in that single moment, it's over. Every choice is gone. Your life is no longer in your hands. You're forced onto a train, but this isn't a passenger train. It's a cattle car. A windowless wooden box, packed so tightly with people you can barely breathe, let alone move. And look at that number, 8,000. That's how many people were being deported per day just from Hungary at the peak of the operations. For days on end, there's no food, no water, just darkness and the overwhelming smell of human misery. And in that suffocating darkness, you might overhear a whisper, a piece of advice being passed around. Claim you have a skill. And this little scrap of information, it plants this tiny seed of hope. You have no idea what it really means yet, but you hold on to it for dear life. After a journey that felt like an eternity, the doors of the car are violently thrown open. Blinding light, deafening noise. You've arrived at Auschwitz. And everything that happens in these next few moments is deliberately designed to create absolute terror and chaos. Survivors speak about this moment with this almost terrifying clarity. The first thing that hits you is the smell, an indescribable stench of burning death that just clings to everything. You see black smoke pouring from huge chimneys, and ash is literally falling from the sky like snow. All around you, there's just chaos, guards screaming, dogs barking, and the whole place is lined with watchtowers, with machine guns pointed right at you. Before you can even begin to process the horror of what you're seeing, you are shoved out of the car. There's no time to find your family, your children, your parents. You're just immediately forced into one of two lines. This is it, the selection. This is the moment where families are torn apart forever in a cold, mechanical process. The logic of these two lines was just brutally simple. An SS doctor would glance at each person for maybe 2 seconds before pointing left or right. In one line, when anyone deemed useless for labor, children, the elderly, the sick, pregnant women, and the other, anyone who looked healthy enough to be put to work. Your entire existence, your whole life, reduced to a single, fleeting judgment about your body. That one flick of arrest determined one of two fates, and believe me, neither was merciful. One was immediate death. The other was a slow, agonizing descent into what survivors rightly called a living death. Okay, so fate number one. If you were sent to that first line, the line with the children and the elderly, you were told you were being taken for a shower, to get cleaned up after the long journey, they'd say. It was all a calculated lie, designed to keep people orderly and prevent panic. But of course, there was no shower. You were led into a sealed room, and the heavy doors were locked. Then, pellets of Zyklon B,
which is basically a cyanide-based pesticide, were dropped inside. What this poison does is it stops your body's cells from being able to use oxygen, so you die by suffocation, even while you are desperately gasping for air. Some days, the majority of people arriving on the trains were dead within hours of arrival.
Now, if you were selected for that other line, you had survived. For now. But your reward was to enter the hell of the camp as a slave, where every single part of your identity would be systematically ripped away.
The process of dehumanization was swift and total. Your head is shaved, your clothes and any personal items you might have hidden, a family photo, a wedding ring, are taken. You're given a thin, striped uniform. And then, the final step. A number is tattooed onto your forearm. You are no longer a person with a name. You are a number, a unit of labor. And life becomes a grueling, repetitive nightmare. You're woken up at 4:30 in the morning for roll call, forced to stand for hours in any weather. Then it's 11 straight hours of backbreaking labor. Your only food for the day is some watery soup and a small piece of hard bread. The barracks are horrifically overcrowded, and diseases like typhus and dysentery spread like wildfire. Everyone knows the rule. If you get too weak to work, you're sent to the gas chambers. It's that simple. Yet, even within this absolute hell, there were somehow deeper levels of suffering. If during that initial selection you were deemed interesting by the infamous SS doctor Joseph Mengele, known as the Angel of Death, an even more grotesque fate was waiting for you.
Mengele had his obsessions. He was particularly fascinated by twins and people with physical anomalies. He would inject diseases and chemicals into them just to watch and document the results. He tried to change children's eye color by injecting chemicals directly into their eyeballs. In one of his most monstrous acts, he literally sewed two twins together, back to back, to try and create conjoined twins. To fall into his hands was to become a living specimen in a madman's lab. The sheer scale of the killing is almost impossible to comprehend. And even though the Nazis destroyed many of their records, historians estimate that well over 1 million people were murdered at Auschwitz alone. The vast majority of those who passed through its gates did not survive. Survival was the rare exception.
So why is it so important to understand all of this granular, horrific detail? Because the legacy of Auschwitz isn't just a history lesson. It's a profound warning for our time, for right now.
One of the most common things you hear from survivors is this: the camps were the end of a process, not the beginning. The hatred, the discrimination, the willingness to see fellow human beings as other, as less than human. All of that existed and grew in society long before the first train ever arrived at Auschwitz. And that really leaves us with the most important question of all, doesn't it? Knowing that genocide is the final step on a ladder that begins with prejudice and dehumanizing language, what is our responsibility? Knowing this history, how do we recognize the warning signs and make damn sure it never ever happens again?